You're watching Speed's coverage of Speedways, presented by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Final practice for the Gatorade Duel that you will see live tomorrow here on Speed. Welcome back to Daytona with Darrell Waltrip and Larry McReynolds. I'm Mike Joy. Well, they had an hour and a half to twist on them, turn on them, go out running the draft, 2 wide, 3 wide, and all over. Now you've had a half an hour to fix things, and you got an hour to go. What do you want to do?
Well, I've either tweeted or I've emailed somebody back at the shop, and I've told them what my problems are, and they went out and got on the 7-post or whatever sim they may have, and they ran a couple of programs to see if they can find out what they can do to their car to make it better. Maybe it's a change in the shocks or springs or sway bars or some roll center thing or track bar, whatever. Because during that break right there, that technology that they have back at the shop, they utilized it to try to fix their race car.
But based on what we saw with 2 or 3 race cars near the end of that practice, we're going to go out there and we're going to make us a little confirmation run. And we're probably going to park her and put our race checklists on the side because, yeah, you've got to get that thing driving good. And the only way you can do it is long runs in a pack. But you know what? We had an hour and a half. If we didn't get it very good then, chances are we're not going to find it in the next hour.
So that's what I always like about me and Hammond. We had like 1 or 2 things we knew to do, and after that, we were done.
Emptied the bucket.
If I didn't fix it, we were done.
Here's our Gillette track description of Daytona International Speedway. 3,000 feet down the backstretch and counting the trial of 3,800 across the front. Down to the Sprint Cup garage located between turn 4 and the start-finish line and Dick Berggren.
And Clint Boyer and David Rudiman are starting all over because in that last practice session, the right front tire on Boyer's car let go. He went into the wall. Rudiman had no place to go, got involved in it. Both of these drivers are preparing backup cars. Boyer's car is a good one. This is the same car in which he finished 4th in the Daytona 500 last year. They're a little bit behind Rudiman. They haven't started the engine on this one yet, and David's getting ready to go. He has just climbed into his race car. It was a little bit closer to being ready as a backup car. Both of them now have got to get these cars ready to race in tomorrow's duels with very little time on the speedway left to go. Let's go to Chris Devoto.
Well, Dick, another driver who had very little time on the racetrack, albeit not as serious of an issue as Boyer and Rudiman, was Ryan Newman. They had a fuel pickup problem. They were only able to get 17 laps in on the racetrack, and then everyone from Stewart-Haas was down here looking at the race car. They did get it figured out. Ryan was able to go back out with about 4 minutes left in practice, just turn 1 more lap. I talked to him just a few moments ago. He said, yes, the problem is solved. The bigger issue is why or how did it happen? Not sure of that yet, but he is out there on the racetrack.
Thanks, folks. 25 cars on track right now of the 54 entries for the 500. Another 5 waiting in line on pit road for their turn at the track. Marcus Ambrose puts up the low number right away, 46.535.
And this is where you really get those fast speeds. These cars are lined up, as you mentioned, a pack of about 25 cars out there. If you get one group lined up, catching that other group, that's when you'll really pick up the speed the way the draft was.
Whoa, man.
Junior.
What in the world? I thought he was out of here. I thought he was headed for the wall, but he saved it. I don't know. That was weird.
And I think his teammate we're riding with, Jimmy Johnson, thought so too. You heard him jump out of the throttle.
I don't know if Junior got loose when he tried to turn back up in front of Jamie McMurray or what happened in that one car there, but something happened.
That car just jumped.
Watch this. Let's see. Did he do that on purpose? Did he do that by purpose?
Top of your screen.
Yeah. Ooh, he got pushed.
Got a bump from Denny Hamlin.
Hamlin is having trouble with that first turn down there.
And I'm going to tell you what, had he gotten sideways and hit that wall, more than likely we'd be unloading about a dozen back up.
Yeah, and gosh, that was close. Oh, my.
And
there's one
there
around.
goes Brian Vickers down in turn 1. Actually, that happened on the short chute between start-finish and turn 1. Doesn't look to be any major damage.
I don't know what these boys had for that little break there for lunch, but man, they came back out here wild and crazy.
Let's check with Krista. First, let's have a look at this.
Back in the pack back there.
With Vickers.
Man, he just gets, it looks like he must have gotten a shot coming out of the tri-oval and sent him down into the, fortunately, that paved area there.
And he was actually very close to the back of that pack.
Yeah, I think so. Most likely he got a little nip from the back.
Oh, he's away there. Now, that's the entrance and then the exit of the infield road course. That's why that area there is all paved.
Darrell talks about it so much. And we need more pavement. In my book, there need to be a blade of grass on the inside of a racetrack. But had that have been grass, he might have been in big trouble.
I'd pay the whole place as me.
Well, now let's go back to the Dale Jr. Denny Hamlin incident and Krista.
As soon as it happened, actually, Dale Jr. got on the radio, and the first thing he said is, the 11 doesn't know how to bump draft. Remember, Dale Jr., Denny Hamlin, very good friends, but not very friendly at that moment. Jr. actually told his team, I don't know how we just got out of that thing. They were joking a little bit. He said, I was leading that pack. How do you get wrecked when you're leading? They reminded him, it's Daytona, you can get wrecked just about anywhere. But yeah, Dale Jr. very lucky to get out of that situation. And to answer your question, Mike, what did they have for lunch? I would say it would either be jumping beans or maybe a milkshake, because they're doing a whole lot of shaking out there on the racetrack right now.
You know, this is almost the same area where Denny Hamlin got into Mark Martin the other night in Budweiser shootout.
Yes, sir. Very similar situation.
Pete's presentation of Sprint Cup practice is brought to you by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's. By DirecTV. To get the most out of your high-def TV, you got to hook it up to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And by the Sponsifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com starting Friday and enter your design. Here's another look at Brian Vickers at the top of your screen, just coming into view. Now, this is in the tri-oval. Marcus Ambrose ahead. And we'll pick him up here again in a second. And that's Joey Logano right behind him.
Closing. Whoa, no. Joey didn't have too much to do with that. You don't see cars spin out in the tri-oval very often, but we've talked about how fast the tri-oval is. Quite a bit of banking there, but you're flying through this tri-oval. That thing just jumped around with Brian Vickers. I don't know what happened there.
Is he lucky it snapped left and ended up sliding across the pavement and not the grass or into the inside wall?
Of course, Joey Logano's on his radio saying, I didn't do that. I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him.
Nope. Top practice times will scroll across your screen. Marcus Ambrose, Reed Sorensen, and Joey Logano are the fastest three so far. How about Marcos, Dick?
Well, he's the fastest on the board, Mike, but he doesn't like the behavior of his race car. He came in and told crew chief Frankie Kerr that the car is toy. That's exactly what he said, toy. I think that translates to tight. It's also bouncing off the racetrack, particularly in the left front corner, and they are on the radio talking back and forth with each other about what to do about that. They're kind of working on the bump stop in the left front corner as a way to solve that problem, but they haven't entirely decided that that's really what they want to do.
And a bad ride, an aggressive ride, holding the back of the car down like you can, will make you run a fast lap, but you can't do. You can only do that for a lap or two. It's not going to be a race car. It may be a fast lap car, but it's not a race car.
And you know, Darrell, I couldn't help but think while Dick was giving that report, and it's kind of, you caught between a rock and a hard place. We keep hearing about these cars bottoming out and riding rough, and I think it gets magnified when you sit up there and ride on a bump stop. We'd say, well, why don't you get it off the bump stop? Well, you can make it drive better, but it's going to probably be slower when you get it up off the bump stop.
Yeah, and anything you gain, say you get the car driving really good, but it's slow. Guess where everybody's going to be when your handling advantage you have kicks in? You won't be able to find them. They'll be long gone. So you've got to try to find that happy medium. This is some aggressive practice. There's three wide back here in the middle of the corner, and a lot of cars moving around, not handling good. There you go.
Oh, one goes around in the wall.
Mike Bliss, Joey Logano, Jimmy Johnson. Boy, Kyle Busch just barely gets through there.
Did you see Kyle Busch?
Wow. You could smell that happening, though, through 3 and 4.
That's just what I just said. I don't like what I'm seeing.
Don't sweat it. We'll get it taken care of for you.
20 cars killed.
Well, I don't know, Zip. I don't think you get that one taken care of.
Zippy, the right front's up in the firewall, buddy.
Didn't hit anything.
Well,
I've hit the back of the 11 pretty hard. 4 flat tires. And
Jimmy Johnson did collect the commit cone coming onto pit road. Let's see what happens. Watch the 36 of Bliss.
Well, this
right in the middle.
This is what got my attention when I said that. Some cars up there, they're not real fast, being overtaken by some cars that are. The 36 car gets loose, and away he goes. Boy, I want you to watch this 18. Look where 18 is. He's right here. Watch him weave through here. Yep. Yep.
Wow.
And he had slowed down, but he was still carrying the mail and doing all that weaving and wagging.
That's 150 mile an hour slowed down.
You know what? Mike Bliss was going to hit that wall hard, but that 20 car was there to slow it down from hitting so hard.
This thing here's got quite a bit of damage.
Now Jimmy's, well, here, let's ride with Joey.
Going to come right in front of him. He got nowhere to go. Joey's had a pretty event. Look at that 18 car. That was amazing that he could get through there.
Now, Jimmy Johnson says he didn't hit anything, but that cone did a good bit of damage.
Well, he got in the back of the 11. Yeah, he got in the back of 11. Not hard.
in front of you.
Then he spun, as he said, and he's got 4 flat tires.
Stay next to the grass.
And let's ride with Denny Hamlin.
Go low. Go down Fair Road. Just slow up.
Nice.
Slow up. Car inside.
Ooh.
Yeah, the 20 and the 36 absolutely will be going to backup cars. There's no question.
Jimmy and Chad talk it over. We'll be back. Tomorrow, NASCAR racing's back, and we're there in Daytona for a pair of races on the high banks. Be there as the field is set for the Daytona 500. It's the Gatorade Duel at Daytona. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And if we mentioned, it's only on Speed.
On Speed tomorrow.
Here's what just happened. To put the track under the red flag, watch the 36 of Mike Bliss.
He didn't. I thought he may have gotten a little tap from the inside there, but he didn't. And Larry, we were just talking about there was a possibility that Bliss could actually lock himself in to the second race tomorrow if things went right in the first race. Now they got trouble.
Yeah, because he'll have to go to a backup car, and he'll have to go to the rear of the field to start that dual race.
Let's go down to the Joe Gibbs garage. You see they already have that first car covered up. And let's hear from Joey Logano.
Well, Joey, what happened?
That's a good question. I didn't really get to see what happened. I think I guess the 36 got loose or got tagged or something. I don't know what happened, but so he just got loose and maybe overcorrected or something. It just swung back out right in front of me. I had nowhere to go. It's a shame the old Home Depot Toyota's pretty much shot there. So I'm pretty sure our backup car is our shootout car from the other night. So I was actually happy with the way that one was driving. I was more happy with that one than I am with this one. So I'm sure the boys will work hard and get it figured out and get that one good. So hopefully we can get a run out there and just see what it does. So we have something to work off of for the duels. So we'll see. It's a shame. I mean, it wasn't a bad car, but plan B, I guess, right?
Well, there's a silver lining if you like that car better. Thanks, Joey.
I tell you, the one thing I'm really impressed with, we interviewed him last year down here. You remember, he was shaking.
Yeah.
He was trembling, and he had found himself in the wall a couple of times during practice, almost every time he went out. Yeah. And he really was just confused and wasn't sure what to tell the team. And this time, so composed,
confident,
so confident. He knows that he knows that he's got his act together.
Speaking of act together, I think his teammate has his act together when he's out there on that racetrack. Kyle Busch is just, his car control is unbelievable.
There's been 2 amazing pieces of driving that I've seen down here over the last few days. One was just now with Kyle. The other was with Danica in that ARCA race, when she got off the track and came back on, and the wheel, the way she operated the wheel, letting go of it, grabbing it, clutching it, braking it, gassing it, that was pretty cool too.
An American tradition continues as Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes Speed Weeks continues in Daytona. Get up to speed on all the happenings in the garage with NASCAR Live this afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed.
You know, Larry, more than probably any time I can remember, these crew chiefs and drivers are going to be glad when all this practice is over with.
No question. There has been some race cars torn up just in the practices, and we haven't had that many practice
Right,
sessions.
of course, you know, for the Bud Shootout, they got the big wreck down here in turn 1, and then in the Bud Shootout itself, big wreck over at the last lap in turn 3. Those are cars that we don't even count almost.
Well, not including backup cars, here is how they are scheduled to line up for Gatorade Duel number 1. 27 cars in each dual race.
And you saw Bill Elliott and Joe Nemechek up there in the top 10. Those guys are locked in on their speed. And another car that'll be starting in the top 10, Michael Waltrip, is not locked in yet in that 51 car.
So in race number 1, there are the race-in cars. Elliott and Nemechek locked in on speed. So they're the drivers who are hopeful of a starting spot in duel number 1. We'll take a look at duel number 2 in a moment. First, here's Krista.
Mike, we've caught up with Jimmy Johnson out of his race car. And Jimmy, the gossip down here is that the 48, it doesn't look bad from this side, but you guys are going to a backup.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only thing I hit was the 11 car. When he checked up, I got into him really hard, but it did some damage to the front end of the car, and we just can't get it right here. So we know we've got a great race car in the truck. We'll bring it out, send this one back to Charlotte, and let it be repaired the right way in Charlotte in case we need it after the duels. So we have a good strategy. We certainly wanted to keep this car, and it from the outside doesn't look all that damaged, but the splitter height and the nose is twisted. It needs to be right if we're going to have it for a backup down here.
How wild is it out there right now?
I thought things were wild, and here's the biggest problem. Guys have different theories on where they want to blend on the racetrack. Some people stay on the bottom, others think they blend on the top, and either way there's a draft of 18 to 20 cars coming, and we're like a snake weaving through these cars, and cars coming in and off at different speeds. And I don't believe that's what caused this wreck, but there were a lot of other crazy moments because of that. I need to go to the tape and see what happened here, because I was just riding along and thought everything was fine, and next thing you know, I was in the middle of it.
Ideally, where should you blend out there on the racetrack? What's the perfect spot to do that?
Really, we just need to pick one spot and have that be it. But I think the bottom, so that a slow car does not have to cross to the outside lane. If all the slow cars would stay on the bottom until they were up to speed, and also they need to fall in at the tail end of the pack, you know, and not have that big speed difference, that would be helpful. But I think the bottom's the place to be.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. Dick Berggren.
We'll get back with Dick in a moment. Track is open once again for practice. Marcus Ambrose. Excuse me, that's Matt Kenseth out front, the 17, not the 47.
Mike,
here's duel 2.
Duel 2, but real quick, the fastest car, like Marcos Ambrose, 46.53. The slowest car over here is in the 49. Oh, what happened to Michael? He's got a left rear
flat tire, yeah.
Caution's out.
But there is a big disparity in speed from the faster cars to some of the slower cars. I'd say he got hit in the left rear and cut that tire down, maybe. Wow, man, he's been out there already.
Boy,
my goodness. That's the second time he's been over there like that.
Yeah, the last thing Michael needs to do is tear another race car up in practice.
I believe he needs to change that number again. The number's not working. That's the third time. You know, twice off that corner, once in the Bud Shootout, that time, and then got hit down here going into 3 by Ryan Newman.
Wow. Now, we are told that the spin by Brian Vickers earlier was due to a flat rear tire that sent him around as he was coming through the trial. Well, didn't just lose it, but he had a tire going down. Let's go down to the garage and Krista.
All right, the other side of the story, you heard Jimmy Johnson talk about where that he hit Denny Hamlin pretty hard. We see the damage on the back end of your car, Denny. It's getting pretty wild out there.
Yeah, I think we're done for the most part, you know, until the 150s. But yeah, I think it's just, you know, vision. You know, I saw the wreck before he did, and vice versa. There's someone behind him probably didn't see the wreck until after he did. And you're just in a dicey group right there. It's a lot of cars trying to get up to speed, and a lot of cars that were already up to speed, and that kind of, you know, made for a bad mix, especially during that portion. So you know, our damage isn't as bad as what his is, of course, but you know, we can repair our car, and you know, we'll get it ready for the 150s. But you know, our FedEx cameras we've taken it from a C car to a B+ car. I think we definitely got something that can win now.
Thanks, Denny. Mike?
Thanks, Krista. 43 of the 54 drivers have been on track in this session, which has been a wild one thus far.
Man says he's had enough.
Speed's coverage of Sprint Cup practice is brought to you by Alien vs. Predator, 2010's biggest multi-species, multiplayer event. And by Gillette. Team up with the Gillette Young Guns on Gillette500.com. Cars waiting for the track to be cleared from Michael Waltrip's spin, which interrupted our look at the lineup for Gatorade Duel number 2, which also includes half of the teams that were in the top 35 in owner points this year, plus this last year, plus a number of teams that have to try to race their way in.
Saw Scott Speed and Bobby Labonte in the top 10. That's 2 of the cars. They are already locked in, that cars that are outside the top 35 by virtue of their speed.
Now this is the lineup based on qualifying. It is not reflective of who might have to go to the rear due to the use of backup cars, and there will be some.
Mike, one of the things that I know the drivers have complained about with the wing on the back of these cars, and particularly at Daytona and Talladega, where you run so close together, it's hard to see over that wing and see through the race cars. As a driver, I used to look through the rear window of the car in front of me to see what was ahead of me. And with that wing up there where it is, and you can see here, when you're up tight underneath another car, I don't know how much obstruction that is. I got to believe it's some.
And this is not a true view here because this camera is much higher than where that driver's sitting in that race car.
Let's find out what happened to the 36 of Mike Bliss.
Well, Mike has left the care center, Mike. He is back in a backup car right now, working on the seat belt, steering wheel position, and so forth, trying to get ready to go out in what's left of this practice session. What got that big crash started?
I was out there and I knew I was going to be a sitting duck. But anyway, I was 3 wide, guy underneath, and I heard the guy on the inside get out of the gas. I heard a big whom, and then felt like it just barely got hit in the left rear, and then it just tank slapped on me, and just a bad deal. I mean, this the Wave Energy drink Chevrolet was really, really fast. It was really handling good, and I kind of mad at myself for going back out for second practice.
Mike.
Thanks, Dick. Yeah, that car has gone to the hauler, and Mike already at work in the backup machine.
I think when Mike sees that replay, he'll just see that his car just got loose late exit of turn 4.
Turbulence loose.
Are you ready for the wildest collection of talent ever assembled at Trackside? No, not the crew of Trackside. Singers, dancers, comedians, and more in a breakthrough racing entertainment hour. Fast Track to Fame premieres Monday, March 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern on Speed.
And a man named Deuce. Uh-oh, here's one of those times when the fast cars are flying up into the back of the field here, or the slower cars trying to get up to speed. And you can see what they're talking about. 3 and 4 wide here because fast ones are coming and the slow ones are not getting out of the way.
The fast about to get into the furious.
Yeah.
Hey, you see David Rudiman in the 00 car back out there in his backup car from that first practice crash.
And it really is, it's a timing thing and a blend. As you said, a blend. You learn absolutely nothing if you go out there and just run laps by yourself. You've got to get up in with the other cars, but how you blend in is turning into a real issue, looks to me like.
But to your point, Darrell, the speed difference between the fast cars and the not so fast cars is 1.5 seconds.
That's
and that's
big.
It creates, along with this different plate, a very significant closing rate. Things happen. Now, to that end, NASCAR this morning in the driver safety briefing discussed the possibility of amending the green-white checker rule for all 3 of their National Touring Series, Sprint Cup, Nationwide, and the Camping World Truck Series. If they go through with this proposal, and right now they're having discussions with the drivers about it, then the line in the rule book that says 1 attempt at a green white checker finish, that would be changed, and the word 1 would be struck from the rule book, and they would take multiple attempts at a green white checker, provided that once the white flag waves, that's the race. Anything that happens after the white flag and the race would be over. But this is quite a shift, and the idea is to have the fans see as much green flag racing as possible and to try to end the event under green. So further details as this story develops, but if this proposal is implemented, it would go into effect immediately and be for all 3 of NASCAR's top series.
Just real quickly, I've been watching Kyle Busch in the 18 car. He was way back at the tail end of this big pack of cars, and I was wondering, so why is he let everybody pass him? And I was wondering, what is he doing anyway? Well, you know what he was doing? Look where he is on the time and scoring chart now.
Second fastest.
And he jumped up there after he got that big run off of all these cars. I think he wanted to get a fast lap, but now he wants to see if he's got a car good enough to get through this bunch of cars.
And you know what? I had the pleasure of working with Dale Earnhardt Sr., and that's the way he would do his practice here. He would get at the back, and if he could make his way to the front or close to the front with a big pack of cars, he knew he had a fast car and a good driving race car.
Let's check with Dick.
Lance McGrew is Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief. He's watching his car go around the racetrack. How's it going for you today?
Really good. Dale likes the way the car's driving. The Amp Energy's car's been good all weekend. We're qualified good, so we're looking forward to the 150 tomorrow. We made a kind of a bunch of changes, a little bit unconventional for us to what we normally do, but we feel like the 150 is a good opportunity for us to try out some new things. So that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, wish you well. And they're on their original car as opposed to so many that are already into backups, Mike.
Well, that's true. Boy, there was a close call, though. He almost was in a backup car.
That's still optimistic because practice isn't over with yet. But
that's true.
I was just looking at the timing and scoring chart again, watching these guys run. Right now, we've got 4 Toyotas at the top of the field here. And you got Reed Sorensen. We talked about him earlier and what that car had some potential. And he's jumped up to 3rd quick on the timing and scoring chart. And that is a huge gaggle right there.
You know, Reed Sorensen is driving for Todd Braun, who runs full-time in the Nationwide Series at operation. I've always said that's probably the strongest Nationwide Series operation with no Cup affiliation.
There's the 32, middle of your screen in yellow, of Reed Sorensen.
Car looks pretty solid. I've been watching him. He's been able to run high, been able to run low. He looks pretty comfortable with people all around him, and his time is indicative of that.
Now, you mentioned Joey Logano. That he posted that time on his first lap on track. That car is now wrecked and in the hauler, and Logano will go to a backup. Matt Kenseth is the fastest Ford. Brad Keselowski the fastest Dodge, and somewhat surprisingly, the fastest Chevy is down in 13th. That would be Juan Montoya.
And a lot like that first practice, the fastest Hendrick Motorsports car is Jimmy Johnson, who is 16th. And again, that was in that car that is now headed back to Charlotte to be repaired as they get their backup car ready to try to get on the track.
Well, Larry, we talked about this in our qualifying show, I believe it was. And the Hendrick cars certainly show that they have the horsepower to set on the pole. They got the front row. But we haven't been impressed, and I haven't you either, with the way they've raced. Even last year at some of the restrictor plate races, they just didn't seem to have the package for racing that they did for qualifying.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson did finish 2nd here in the July race, but it was Virtue. They just really, him and Chad really worked on getting that car to drive good, which we know is even more important in July.
And I was surprised to hear Lance McGrew say that Dale was happy with the car. Maybe he is today, but I don't believe he was Saturday night in the Bud Shootout, because he ran at the back and really complained about his car the whole race.
Is there such a big difference between these cars? NASCAR's worked so hard with the COT platform that all the cars should be very much alike. So I'm a little surprised to hear drivers talk about, well, this car is so much better than that car that they have.
I think the difference is the difference. It doesn't take but just a little bit of difference to make a big difference.
Okay.
I think you can miss it really badly with this car, maybe worse than you could the other car. But if you get this car a little bit better than everybody else's, you really do look like you've got a huge advantage.
Dave Blaney trying to race his way in for Prism Motorsports in that Toyota. He is 46 on the chart. Clint Bowyer looks things over from a rather safe-looking perch, the way things have gone on the track today. I got a line you'll like.
Yeah, it's close.
Speed's presentation of Sprint Cup practice is brought to you by the Sponsafire. Visit ToyotaRacing.com starting Friday and enter your design. By Marathon, fueling the American spirit. And by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's. About 15 minutes left in this practice session when Ernie Banks, the great shortstop of the Chicago Cubs, Mr. Cub, famously said, "Let's play two." He wasn't talking about 2 cars in one afternoon of practice, was he?
No. And I think there needs to be another category there, close call, and that would include Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip in close calls. But how about this 20 car? I know this is the car that they ran in the shootout, but Greg Zipadelli and that whole group got Joey back out on the racetrack in less than 30 minutes after this happened right here.
Yeah, Logano was just a victim of Mike Bliss's spin. This happened at 2:11. And 28 minutes later, after rolling out the backup car, checking it out, getting Logano in it, and having NASCAR check it over for safety compliance, they rolled it back out on the track.
And it probably helped that a lot of the safety inspection had been done because of it being the Budweiser shootout car.
Right. That car was probably just rolled up in a trailer right after the race. So theoretically, you roll it out, wipe it off, and put some air in the tires and go.
The most laps run in this practice looks like David Reagan and Casey Kane. They've each run 20 laps so far.
Kyle Busch, second on the board, but he also leads the field in 2 important categories: fastest 5 consecutive laps and fastest 10 consecutive laps. That's a hot rod right there.
It is, and I know that car has to be handling really well. By the way he bobbed and weaved through that wreck that was in front of him. That car, you know, he was able to cut it left, cut it right pretty abruptly, and it didn't try to spin out or anything. So good handling car will keep you out of trouble.
And this has been a fairly long run here, because remember we pointed out that several minutes ago he started at the back of the pack. Now he's been working his way through the pack. The pack has changed cars. Some has left, some has joined. But this has been a long run for this group.
Well, he ended up with a pretty good finish in the Bud shootout the other night, but I don't think he was terribly pleased with the car, not what he had been used to having down here.
Well, that 46 just did quite a bob and weave there. Terry Cook on the bottom. Everybody gets through.
I tell you, the car that really tricks me every now and then is that 43 car, Allmendinger.
Yeah.
The way the paint is on it, the way the stripe runs up the side of it, it looks like it's sideways a lot of times.
It's true.
See right there, the car looks like it's real sideways. I think it's just a paint scheme.
Five minutes to go in this practice session, which is final practice for the Gatorade Duel. Dick?
With the winner of the 2009 Daytona 500, Matt Kenseth, how good is your stuff for the 2010 500?
I don't know. Tomorrow's going to be a good test. I was pretty happy with the speed of our car. It seems real fast and it sucks up real good, but it seems pretty slick out there. Everybody seems like they're sliding around a lot, and our car wasn't really an exception. So we still need to work on the balance a little bit, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow's race. I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Good. Thank you very much. We wish you well tomorrow.
Matt Kenseth 6th in this practice.
I think he's going to be pretty tough come Sunday.
I think you're right. Marcus Ambrose winning practice right now. 50 of 54 cars have practiced. You see Joey Logano 4th on the board. That was before the crash. His backup car, his best lap, is 25th fastest on the day. Quick review of the go or go homers in this session. Reed Sorensen far and away the fastest, driving that number 32 Toyota. Then Eric Almirola in the 09 Chevrolet. Joe Nemechek in his own number 87 Toyota. Todd Bodine in Kirk Shelmerdine's number 27 is 4th. Mike Wallace 5th. Bill Elliott 6th among the go-home crowd.
And of our 5 backup cars from these 2 practice sessions, David Rudiman made it back out there in the 00 car. We saw Joey Logano in the 20. But it looks like that the 48, the 36, and the 33 will not be out there with their backups.
Krista?
Montoya's crew told him to pull up just a little bit short. Montoya came up about 30 yards short, said, is that good? They said, nah, get it a little bit closer. Juan in good spirits. He said his race car is just a little bit tight.
Well, I believe, Darrell, and you can certainly answer this better than anyone, I would want a little tug on that steering wheel, the way these cars are driving. You know, you can drive through a push. You can't drive through that thing being loose, getting off in the corner over 190 miles an hour.
Well, when you have a car that's unpredictable, I just let it do one thing. If it's going to be loose, okay, I know it's loose and I know I got to deal with that. If it's going to push, I want it to push. But please don't give me one that's pushing loose. Because when you get into the corner and you hit those swales, the car starts to move around and you start going left, right, left, right, left, right on the wheel. And when you do, you spin out or hit something.
Big Daddy in front of that train. Jeff Gordon, and there are the flags. This practice session is over. Marcus Ambrose, the Aussie, wins practice. But I think the most impressive drive I saw in that whole hour was Kyle Busch.
I tell you what else is impressive. Look at all those Fords that we said, you know, they didn't qualify all that well, but they look like they may be getting ready to race.
Yeah, they only had 2 in the top 20 on Saturday's qualifying.
Fastest Dodge, 13th Keselowski. Fastest Chevy, 14th Montoya. So we'll pack it up and get ready for the Gatorade Duel at Daytona tomorrow afternoon live right here on Speed.
Yeah, I just think these practice sessions didn't mean anything. What are we going to see when it counts?
Just you wait.
She's going to be about 20 degrees hotter.
All right, Steve Burns has NASCAR Live across the break. We'll see you tomorrow.